crafters, good evening. I wanted to come on and just make an intro to my Blue Fern Jane's Memoirs mini album for my Country Craft Creations design team project. And the reason why I wanted to come on is I was going to have everything done and up, completely done with my album by today or tomorrow. But unfortunately, I fell on Wednesday night right into a big snow pile and hurt myself, so I've been in a little bit of pain. And then Sunday, as I was working in my craft room, I was bending over for something a little bit further than I probably should have. I fell off my chair because the wheels came out from right underneath me. So needless to say, my back is hurting, my knees are hurting, my hip is hurting. So I really haven't sat in my craft room as much as I thought I could because I have been in a bit of pain. So rather than hold off on my design team project for Country Craft Creations, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to release tutorial 1, and then I will do all the tutorials as they come, and I'll do a final walkthrough when we've got everything all complete. I'll update pictures and things as when it's all completed and finished, but I needed to stick to my promise and my schedule of getting my first videos up. So I hope that that works out for you. Stay tuned, and you will start with tutorial number 1. Thanks so much. I appreciate you watching and commenting and subscribing so much. Thank you very much. Hi crafters. Well, we are going to get started on our first tutorial for this album, which is Jane's Memoirs and by Blue Fern. This is a Country Craft Creations design team project, and in my packet I got, as I had shown you before, I got some of the ephemera. I have some ribbons and some lace, and also some extra plain colored cardstock along with one each of the pattern papers. One of the things about this project is it's new for me. I've never made this album before, and a lot of times what I do when I'm making an album or trying an album out, if I was going to put it on YouTube, I will take some time to make a, just a, I was going to say a dummy one, but that's not really what I want to say. Just to do a test one to see how it'll all work. But I decided this time around I was going to go ahead and do it with you. I've seen some different videos on YouTube about making this design of a mini album. So what the purpose of this is going to be is it's going to be a simpler album. It's not going to have a ton of flips and flaps other than some of the ones that are going to be on the cardstock. So we're going to go ahead, and as you could have seen before, I'm doing this before the fact of you actually seeing the finished product. But basically, we are going to do some flips and flaps, but I want to do something that's a lot more simpler. So we'll see how that goes and see how that turns out. So the first thing that you are going to do is you are going to need 6 of these pieces of colored cardstock. And this is the new olive green cardstock by Country Craft Creations. It's called Artisan, and it's my favorite by far for making mini albums. So what you are going to do is you are going to cut 6 of these. This is 12 inches across, and this is 9 3/4 long. So, and then what you're going to do as far as scoring for this is you need to score down at 6 1/4. Now, this will also give you then 5 3/4 of a flap on this side. And I know this looks really funny for some of you mini album makers, but just bear with me till we get to that point. Some of these flaps are going to stay this length. Some of them I may end up cutting down. We'll just kind of see how it goes. So you're going to cut 6 of these like I did here, and it'll make it 3 sets of 2. So what I would like to do is, what I'm going to do anyways, is I'm going to glue these together so that they give us a pocket in the side. I prefer pockets in the side to the top pockets, but if you like a top pocket on your pages, then just glue these 3 sides. And this side can be glued. This is not going to interfere with how we're going to hinge these together. But I'm going to do mine so that my my pocket is on the front. And you want to make sure that when you put the pockets together, that you have the 2 smaller ones out here. So let's go ahead and let's do that. And I've got some new glue that I'm trying out. It's the Barely Art glue. I've used it on one project, but I'm going to try it out on this project and see how I like it as a substitute. It's not going to take over my art glitter glue because I love my art glitter glue, but I wanted to try it out and see how this worked, since I've heard good things about it, but I have not used it myself. So I'm just lining up these pages to make sure that they're square with each other. And I prefer to use glue when I do this type of pocket page. The reason for that is because tape doesn't ever dry. So with it never drying, when you slide things in and out, there's always going to be that bit of stickiness left on the page. So glue really is a better medium for you to use when you're gluing pages together. I am a little bit off on there, but it's pretty good. The cutting must be a little bit off. So, all right. And I'm going to do this so that I'm taking a very fine piece of glue. Gosh, look what I did. I knew I'd do that. Wouldn't be one of my videos without some kind of like oopses along the way. All right. Oops. All right, we're gonna put these together here. Sorry if I'm standing these up and you can't quite see what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to line up the edges with the other edges and then getting them to burnish down. So unlike some of the other mini albums, I think that I am going to try to do this matting and things before I actually finalize off the rest of the cover and everything. I just want to try to see if it works easier that way with this method, or I don't know. I haven't really decided yet, but I'm thinking about maybe matting everything and then putting it all together. One thing I have found is the Barely Art glue does not stick quite as quick as art glitter glue, but it still does, so I'm gonna let that remain like that. So what we should have now is 3 pages that look like this. And for my purposes, I'm going to have a pocket in here. I don't want to pull that out too much. I will have a pocket in here. And we will have flaps to work with that, that we can cut these down we can fold these up for pockets if we'd like. There's a lot of different things that we can do with it, and so when we go along, we'll see how that goes. We'll see what we make a decision about doing. So each one of these. Now the next step in this is you should have, from these 6 sheets of paper, you should have 6 of the leftover pieces from your cutting of these sheets. And what we're going to do with those is we're going to take 4 of them, and they measure 2.5 inches. And what I'd like you to do with that, this is how we're going to put our album and attach it together. So you're going to cut these. These are already going to be at 2.5 because that's what they come out to be from us cutting off the bottom of this piece of paper, because we cut this at 9.5 by 12. So at the 1 inch mark, you're going to score. At the 1.5 inch mark, you'll score, and then you're got 1 inch over on this side. So you're going to need 4 of those. So score those and then fold those in and burnish those edges real cleanly. And we're going to use these, again, like I said, for attaching the pages together. And I'm not going to cut these in any way for like mitering the edges or anything like that, because these are going to be straight pages. So I'm going to just line them up as I can to the edge of the paper so that I can attach the other book to that. And I'm going to go right to the edge of that paper, or right flush with it, and then I will attach the other one to it. So and then we're going to take our next one and we are going to glue that onto this piece. But before we do that, I want to put another piece onto this. Okay, so got these 2 pieces here that are ready to go, and I am going to go ahead and glue this one down to here, and then I'm going to glue this one down to here. So again, this is me just learning. I've never not done this before at all, so there might be some things that we're going to have to change up as we're going, but just bear with me. Sometimes it's good to find ways to overcome the mistakes or challenges of a new way of doing something, because it gives us an opportunity to try something new. So I always say my mistakes are opportunities to be creative. Those other ones went on a little bit easier. Other ones matched up a little bit easier. I'm sorry, this is taking me a long time. Just want to make sure that, you know, if my base is square, the rest of my book will be square. So I just need to make sure that this part, while it might seem like it's taking longer, it is. Because if this is off or cattywonk, it is not going to, the rest of the pages aren't going to line up. So that's why I'm taking a little bit extra time on this. So right now what we have is got our book like this and our book like this. So we have that page on there. Next that we're going to do is we are going to put this page onto here. Yep, that's what I did wrong. I almost did that the wrong way. Wait. Did I do that the wrong way? I did. See, look at that. Don't do what I do. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, the good news is that this will be covered by pattern paper, where I'm taking this off. I did that the wrong way. I did that to the inside when I should have had that flat edge to the outside. That was my mistake on that. Okay. See there, a quick lesson learned. I'm going to take one of these other pieces here. All right, so now we will make sure that this runs along the edge of our spine piece and is flush with that. All right, so now that we've got that in there, our last piece is to put this together right here. And then we have our pages put together, but we need to put our pages together for our cover. And you can do the cover a couple different ways depending upon what you're comfortable with. I am probably going to go ahead and try this out a little bit of a different way. Get this out of the camera. I really liked my wrapped covers, the way that Tamara has shown how to do it from Country Craft Creations, but I think I might do something a little different this time. We'll see. We'll see how sturdy it is, huh? Oh, shoot. Here we go. This works a little better. So there we go. You're probably questioning me saying, gosh, you said it was a lot easier way and it looks a lot harder than what other ones do. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to burnish some of these down. So go back and make sure that my hinges are thoroughly glued in there. And if I'm missing any glue anywhere, I want to come back in and just fill that in and make sure I'm not missing anything on the edges. The good part is that this will be covered over by our pattern paper, so the edges will get glued down or feel like they're glued down a little better than what they do right now. This one is real good. So we've got both of those and this. So basically what we have now is we have our 3 pages put together with each one of them having a flap. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to put onto here our cover pages and our back flap. So I think that I'm going to look at 2 options, and then I'm going to come back when I have made my decision on how I'm going to do the cover. One of the ways that I saw the cover being made was they made the cover exactly the same size as what the album itself was, and then so did it with a piece of cardstock using one of these flaps, and then put some chipboard inside and then covered it again with another piece of cardstock on top or over it. But they actually used the chipboard and it was a little bit smaller in size. Not sure if I'm going to like that, so I'm thinking about doing a wrapped cover, but I want to see what opportunities I have for making sure that it works well with this design of album that I'm doing right now. So I'm just going to check that out, and then I will be back with you in a little bit. Thanks. Hey crafters, so I am back working with the covers of our mini album. And so what I did is a traditional type of covering your album like Tamara does from Country Craft Creations. I like the way that she covers them. I like that she puts like the score tape sheets on the back of her chipboard, the chipboard itself, and then it gets stuck down to the cardstock. And traditionally what I do is I use what we call these spacers. And so you're going to see this one isn't spaced quite properly because I didn't cut it quite right. I cut it 1/4 of an inch short, but it's not going to stop me because it's not going to make that big of a difference. But traditionally, if I had cut the cardstock properly, this would fit exactly 1 inch, 1 inch, and then I would have a symmetrical shape around the whole item. Then I also have this spacer that traditionally is used on the spine. Since we're not going to have a traditional spine on this, because we are going to cover the spine that we have, but just not the traditional way, more of a rounded spine. It's the first time I've ever done it again, and I want to try it out, and I planned on trying to do it together. So, you know, it's just nice to have some different things to try, not always doing exactly the same thing. And, you know, we try it out. If it doesn't work, then we don't do it again. If it works well for something quick and simple, then we do it again. So let's just try out a couple things. So I actually have the front cover done, or one of the covers done. And so let's go ahead and I'll show you how I work on my covering my cover. So I bend the cardstock up first so that it creates its own natural line from the pressure, putting it like that. And then I go around to all of these spots and I cut straight up right along the edge of the cardboard or chipboard. And we will do a secondary cut on these in just a moment. And then what you want to do is to fold your cardstock in and hold your scissors to the edge and just angle in so that we clean up these edges and make it so it aligns with the chipboard. You're going to have to excuse me. I like these scissors, but they always go up on my fingers, or my thumb more so. And it drives me nuts. And I can't seem to find another pair that works better or does anything different. Oh, goodness. All right. Like I said, we're going to go around to all of these. I know this is a bit of a darker paper, but I hope that it helps with seeing things, and if it's too dark, then I apologize for that, but I would think that it's probably about the same depth of color as black cardstock. So then what I want to do with this is go around. I don't use tape, I use my art glitter glue, or I've been trying out this new glue, Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. Again, I'm just trying it out. I have not, this is my first time trying it with this book. So the one thing that I do like about it so far is that I like the fine tip precision, or the fine tip, the precision tip that there is. And I like how fine the glue comes out, because one of the things that with glue, and especially like art glitter glue or the Barely Art glue, what you want to do is put enough glue on there to hold, but not so much that it dampens your paper so much. But the reason why I use glue, wet glue, versus tape. Now, I've heard many stories about this, and hopefully I didn't share this in my last section, but so if I repeat myself, I apologize, because I am doing this over a couple of days or times, so I don't, so if I repeat myself, just fast forward over me. But I went to research because I was listening to another crafter who makes mini albums all the time, and she makes beautiful mini albums. And she says that all she ever uses is score tape because glue will dry out in time. Now, I have always been told by a lot of other crafters that the score tape or the tape itself is good. Most of them, score tape is especially good, but it does dry out in time, and it does depend upon the climate you're in. So now I know that this crafter that does the great albums, she's out of California, and so it could be her climate, I'm not sure. But so I started to do some research on Google to see, you know, is there really a case out there that says what would be better and what, you know, would work well or not work well. The only thing that I was able to find is they did talk about some tapes that were really, really good and worked really well. But one of the articles that impressed me the most was just talking about wet glues that wet glues were better than tape because they actually adhere to the fibers of the paper. They soak in to the fibers of the paper and harden that way. So I don't know, that made a lot of sense to me. Made a lot of sense to me that tape would dry out. I think glue would dry out probably at some point as well, but I think, this is my thought, I have no research on it or anything like that, but I would think that the glue would stand up a little bit longer and better than the tape. But that's just my take on it, and you do what you feel most comfortable with, and that's the best way to go. So, all right, so what I'm going to do here is we are going to take and adhere the covers onto our other pages, and I'm going to put this one on before I do the other cover. Now, I just remembered that I forgot to tell you, for the covers themselves, the chipboard pieces were cut at 6.5 by 9 3/4. So 6.5, a 1/4 inch bigger than our pages, by 9 3/4, a 1/4 of an inch bigger. The reason why I only did a 1/4, I usually do a 1/2 inch. I didn't want to make these chipboard pieces too much bigger than the pages because I wanted it to be a little bit more stable. But again, we'll see how that turns out. So then the cardstock that you cover this with, you'll need to cut it at 8.5 by 11 3/4. And like I said, I made the mistake. I cut this a 1/4 inch too short. I did it at 11.5 instead of 11 3/4. And really, if you have a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, I would just probably leave it at 12 inches and just use the paper rather than having that little strip. But if you have a use for a 1/4 inch strip, then go ahead and cut it. Otherwise, I would probably just leave it at the 12 inches. So again, the chipboard is 6.5 by 9 3/4. The cardstock to cover it is 8.5 by 11 3/4, or make it 12 inches. Then when you cut these strips out of your leftover pieces from the other pieces of cardstock that we cut, I had cut 4 of these because I wasn't really thinking about the fact that 2 would be for the pages and 2 would be for the covers. So at this point, I'm going to use these at 9.5 because I don't want them going over the top of my pages. But if you want more assurance that it's going to stay better, one of the things that you can do is you can cut these to 9 3/4. 9 3/4, and then possibly just take 1/8 of an inch off on top and bottom, just so that on the page part, so that they are even with the pages. So that's just an alternate thought that I had, but for now, I'm just going to go with the 9 3/4. I am not going to, 9.5. These are 9.5 long by for these because I already cut and scored them. As I usually say, I just go with the flow and go with what I've got. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take my glue. If you ever hear me talking funny, it's probably because I have my glue pin in my mouth. I think I live with my glue pin in my mouth. That way I don't lose it. So I am going to glue this to this edge, and I'm going to get it as close to the edge of the page as possible without going over, so that it's even with my binding of the other pieces. And it's even on both ends here. Okay. All right, so that is our front cover. Let me just rub that down. The one thing that I did notice is I think the Barely Art glue doesn't really, I think I told you this before, that it doesn't stick quite as quickly as the art glitter glue. So you just have to be a little bit more cognizant of that and try to make that work for you, you know, just by holding it down. So, all right. So what I'm going to do with this page, this is my back page. I'm going to put this down at the edge of that, and then I'm going to take this page and we're going to put it on here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this this spine piece, and I'm going to adhere it as even as I possibly can make it, just like the other cover, and then we'll put it attached onto our cover. This is the one that, remember, I tore off before, so because it wasn't on the right side of the page. Good thing about creative, you know, by paper crafting, you know, there's just so much. Oh, I almost did it again. There's so much opportunity for changing and moving things, and not to be afraid of that. Because for the most part, you know, I know that I have to be a little bit more careful with my patterned paper, but for my solid cardstock, for the most part is, you know, there's always more cardstock, and you can always fix it. You know, you might even find a new way of doing something that works better than the way you originally planned on creating that. So just open yourself up to trying the new things. All right, I think I'm going to need to run down here a little bit, only because this was that one that, like I said, that I pulled off before. This again will be covered over with patterned paper, so even though it might not look the best right now, we should be just fine. And then I'm going to take this and I am going to glue it down to the edge of my page. And because this is the same length as the page, I should be centered the same way that I was centered on the front one. And you know, even though that looks like a lot of glue, it's very, very thin rivulets of glue. And so it shouldn't add too much moisture to our paper, but enough to adhere to our fibers. And the other thing is that with the Artisan Cardstock from Country Craft Creations, it is a linen type of cardstock. So one of the nicest things about it is that it really does have those fibers that the glue can hang on to. And it makes it so resilient, and it stands up to scoring and other types of pressures and movements on it. So let's make sure I did this the right way. I was just waiting to see that I put this on the wrong side. So this is what our book looks like so far. And as you can see, we've got our binding like this. And we'll see as we go how we can make that a little bit stronger. I'll show you how we're going to end up finishing that off. So basically what we're going to see is we have a book that has flaps on every single page. Doesn't mean we're going to use every one like a flap, And we've got pockets in here in all of our pages. Got flaps here. We could do a long spread along here if that's what we wanted to do. And pocket in here, and then we've got our back page and our back flap here. So one of the things that I'm going to do with this front page I'd already thought about was to punch along this edge. So I'm going to make this a little bit flatter. As far as the pattern paper goes, I'm going to do a punch along the edge. So use whatever punch that you think would go well with your paper style. If your paper is a little bit more frilly, you might want a little bit more frilly paper punch. If it's not as frilly, then go ahead and use something that's a little standard. Or the other thing is that you don't have to die cut it. You can leave it this width. You can also cut off some of the length of this if you want to change that. The other thing that you can do is if you want to make this pocket, so you can glue it straight down and it can be a pocket in there just like the pockets at the side. If I use these as a pocket, I probably will go ahead and put some I can't think what they're called, connectors or, well, it doesn't matter. It won't come to me. So something in between here to make them have a little bit more give. But I'm not going to do that on my front page. I want to do something a little bit more open, that I've got a double flap on there, and then create something coming across this way. This album is not going to have a million flips and flaps. I wanted to make this album, again, like I said, a little bit easier, a little bit less flips and flaps. I'll have some, and some designer, but the papers that I'm using are so gorgeous that I would like to let the papers speak for themselves, and then take the opportunity to maybe put some picture frames on there or some photo mats, so that really what's showcasing is the paper with the pictures, and maybe an opportunity for a frame underneath the picture to put a comment underneath. We'll see as we go along. But this is not going to be meant to be an album for me that's going to have a lot of tricks and traps along the way. It's just not going to be that. So all right, well, that's how we've got our album together. And what I am going to do is go ahead, and I've got my idea for what I'm doing for the cover already, but I also need to get the spine ready for this. But I'm just deciding whether I want to do the spine now or if I should leave it be till we finish off some of these other pages. So I'm going to check that out a little bit, and then I will come back and show you what we're going to do. I'm going to get my papers ready so you don't have to sit and watch me do that. And I'll be back in just a little bit. Thank you. Well, welcome back, crafters. Now that we have our whole book put together, let's get started with the decorative paper. So first off, I am going to actually do the front cover. I will finish off details as we go, but I am going to be starting out with, I am going to be double matting the covers and the inside covers on this project. And so I'm double matting it with the burgundy because I wanted to bring out some of those red tones, red, pinky kind of tones into the project. So I am going to do some double matting here. I'm going to try to do something new on the front cover that I've not done before. I've seen it done by several crafters, but I've never done it personally, so we'll see how this is going to work. The other thing I'll show you in just a minute. It's got to do with the lace that I got in my design team package. I wanted to add some lace to the page and possibly on one of the pockets. So So basically what you want to do with your cardstock is to cut it so that it is 1/8 of an inch shy of what the page measurements are. So the cover is 9 3/4, so you're going to make this 1/8 of an inch shorter than that, and then so it would be 9 5/8. And then your pattern paper, if you wanted to do a full piece of pattern paper on here, you're going to cut that to 9 9.5, and then that should give you your border. I actually am going to be doing 2 pieces of cardstock. Number one, because I accidentally cut this off, and I thought that this would work underneath my pot. Oh, goodness gracious. See, I did it again. Oh, goodness. Here, I think I'm doing so well. And along comes another opportunity, right? So we're going to glue this paper, the pattern paper, onto the burgundy paper first. Gosh darn it. You know, it's, I don't know what it is. It's like I have been measuring out different things, and I've been cutting things like 2 inches short. I almost cut out some other paper short, and I realized I shouldn't do that. So anyways, I think I need to have some, I don't know, something a little bit more, I guess more peanuts to eat, so I'd have a better memory like an elephant or something. I don't know. But one of the things that I did on this page is I did cut along the line here, and so that I could tuck a tag. And actually, I'm going to cut along a little bit further. I took this page and I cut into this edge along the papers so that I could make a tuck spot right into the paper. And I'm going to go just a little bit more here so that it gives me just a little bit more room for that tuck spot. And then what I'm going to do is that I can glue down this side, and I can glue off on this bottom underneath here, but I want to leave this primarily open. I can glue down the side, but I want to leave this part more open. So, alrighty, I'll show you what I did and why I messed up in just a minute. So there's the bottom of that. I don't want the tag going down that far, and I'm going to put some glue down here, and I'll go down here a little bit so it gives it some more structure, and maybe just a little bit more along here. And I'm going to take my burgundy paper and I'm going to put this on my mat. I apologize if I get out of frame. I'm trying to watch where my frames are and what you can see and what you can't. So I'm putting that down. Then I'm going to put this piece down. One of the things with the blue fern is they do have a white core. So in some spots I am using my photo ink and so that it's not quite so abrupt with the white inside core, but I'm not doing it on every piece because if I don't really see the white sticking out, I'm not going to do that. So the reason why I pulled that off is I wanted to try something a little bit different. Rather than making a pocket out of this and, you know, edges and everything, what I thought to try is I know you're not going to be able to really see this, but I cut the pocket 3 inches by, let me just see if I have that written down. The pocket is, acetate is 3 by 6 3/8. And basically what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to cover it with my lace so that the lace can be glued down onto it. Now, this went in last night, so there we go. So that it just goes over like this, and then I'm going to put my lace on my pocket like that, so that you'll know it's a pocket because we'll put a flap or something in there, but it'll be glued across on my on the pocket. And this fits fairly tightly, but it fits nicely so that just trying to grab a scrap so I can see this as I put the glue on here. And actually for this I am going to use my Fabri-Tac. And is there 2 sides to this? Yes, there is. I want to put, it dries clear, and as the name states, it is a fabric glue. So I want to see if this will just take to the acetate a little bit better. So I'm going to try that out. I'm not going to put too much on here, but just enough that I think that it will not come off, or at least it'll hold down sections of the lace. And I don't know if you've ever used Fabri-Tac before, but it is one of my favorite glues. And actually, before I started using art glitter glue, it was the only glue I used on my paper and everything. So let's see how this does. I suppose I could always tuck in more glue as I go. Now, to try to center this, I was going to do this off screen, but then I thought, you know, should let you all have the joy of all my fun mistakes that happen. Or would you agree that you'd rather not see them? So, just want to make sure I get this a little bit more even to the edges of this, to the edges of the pocket. If you have a better or more unique way of doing this, then please leave me in the comments. I love to learn something new. Can't always do everything perfect all the time, and I think I'm a very good testament to that. So what I'm going to do here too is, since this is going to be wrapped around to the back, I'm going to actually take these ends so that I don't have any ends sitting for everyone to see, and wrap them around the plastic pocket, and that'll be in the back behind that page. if we can get this to stick down. And actually, I'm going to put this off to the side for just a little bit till I'm sure that it's down. And let's go to the next page till I know this is down. So basically, I've got to clean up a little bit here. I'd usually use a baby wipe, but I don't have a wet one right near me. So I'm just going to use this. What is it that I'm using? A wet one. Just make sure that none of that glue is making my pocket look dirty. So, and we will close this up. All right. And again, I'm going to let this sit for just a few minutes, and then let's go to the next section or page. On the next page, what I want to do on the inside, this is page 1. So what I did is I went along and I punched with this EK Success punch, and it's the one with the arches and cutouts. Thought it looked pretty for where this album is. And what I wanted to do was to take one of the full sheets of paper and to put it across the inside of this flap. Oh, this is right. And then be able to show off the paper in and of itself. And I was going to put this frame on top. Now this is a Spellbinders frame, and do I have it right out here? You can use any frame that you like. I use this one because of the arches going along, but I also am going to be using probably something like a scalloped edge frame. I thought that would be nice with the paper, but for now, what I did is I cut 2 of this frame in the cardstock, and then I backed it on some cream cardstock. And I'm going to put that down so that a picture can be put on here. And it can be just in the center, or it can go out a little bit further, just depending upon how big the picture is. So let's get these sheets down. And this piece is ruler. This sheet is 5 1/8 by 9 1/8. So some of the pages, what I am doing is I'm going to put some of the papers down where I'm going to do the pattern or something straight across in the inside of the flaps. Some of the flaps I'm actually going to do like a photo layout for the inside of the flap because I want to just conserve some of my paper. So I'm not going to do those right away because if I do that, I will use up all my larger pieces of paper, and I just want to be careful to have enough left over for my covers and the back of my album. So that is going to go down here, and then I'm going to put this one across here. And the thing you have to watch out for is that there is this 1/2-inch strip here, so we want to make sure that when we're putting this down, we're leaving the 1/8 or the 1/16 of an inch around here so that we match up on each of these sides. I think I'm going to go this way. Sorry, I had to do it upside down. Sometimes I just do better when my book is upside down, when I'm putting pages in. Just a little bit on those corners. So And I may put a frame on this larger page, but again, I'm going to wait till I get through putting a lot of the paper down, and we'll take a look at it and see where we go from there. Okay. Make sure my flap still goes, my cover still goes. I'm good. And I'm going to put this down onto this, and I'm going to just center it primarily. Now, another thing that I can do, which I might do, I'm going to leave this side open, so I'm only going to glue on these two sides. So it might give us another tuck spot if I wanted to put something or tuck something in there. Not sure. I can always glue it down fully later if I'm not going to use it as a tuck spot. But I am going to put this down a little further just so that I have room for that, for the tag if I want to put the tag in there. So that'll be open, and I'm opening it to the inside so that the tag will not fall out. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of magnets, because if I'm opening this book, I'm opening it like this, and this is right here. So for now, I'm not going to put any magnets in, only where some, like I'm on this side. I probably will put a magnet on this side because of how it's lifting up, but this should probably be fine because of its lifting the way that it is flat. And then on this page, what I have cut is I have cut the papers for this flap, and the measurements on this is it's about 5 1/8 and 9 1/4. And I'm not going to put anything on this. I'm not going to put a pocket on here because I want to enjoy the papers. And I can always come back and put a photo mat on here if I choose to, or a photo down, or an embellishment. But for right now, I am just going to leave it as is. Don't know how some people, I watch them put their mats down, and it's like they perfectly align them. Like I watch Tamara, and I never see her really get off the line for where she has to lay her cardstock. So that's so nice with that underneath there. And like I said, we can put a mat in there. I can put a frame up here, or maybe even just a small 3x3 frame, possibly. I also did cut out, these are the, these were from, I'm gonna have to find those where I put them. Oh, here it is. They're from Waffle Flower. And it has this internal, it's several layers of frames. So cutting out my frames, I'm going to layer them up if I'm going to use these. I just really haven't decided yet. But one of the things that I also liked about it is that it does cut out this center tag. So if I wanted to put a strip to be able to label that there or put it down here, I probably would double up on the layers, or I'd put this down in the back with cream cardstock. I just haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do. But I was cutting some out, trying some on the pages to see what they would look like. And so even like that, if I wanted to do something like that, I could. But I'm not sure I want to really cover up those pictures. So that is, this is the waffle flower die. Let's see if there's a name on there. I don't see a name on there. But it's actually, I think this might even be like a 5x7 frame die. I think that's what it is. And then the other die that I used is this die that is by Spellbinders, and it was a small die of the month for last month, actually, for January 2021, and it fits in here like that. And you can see that this is the one I used here. And I could cut out a leafy inside or a heart on the inside. And again, those are things I can look at as I go along, but for now, that's what I used. Alrighty, so let's get moving with the other couple pages. So here is our front cover page, and we have our lace on there. Now I'm going to put this on the bottom of our page. And that should slide right up like that and around. And should stay. I see what I did here. So that's going around. So then we can tuck a tag in there, and it's actually just the lace behind it. So, and then that way the lace doesn't also get damaged. So we'll have a spot for a tag here. Let me see if I can find something. A spot to put a tag in here. Call me a liar here. Of course, this is too fat. But anyways, you can see where it's been cut out. So I'm going to put this down, and then we'll move on to the next page. And on the next page, or flap, page 2 really, I'm going to go ahead and put down, just add a flap to that in the back, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to do photo mats on the inside of those flaps. So I'm just going to do the flap, and then I will come back and do the other inside piece of that. And as I can see, this is a little bit loose right here. So let me see if I can get that tucked under a little better. Sorry if you can't see. But I just want to, oh. Oh, come on, you silly thing. Just stay under there. Be my friend. Doesn't want to be my friend today. Also, if any of you have any ideas that make this simpler and easier, you can let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your feedback and help me to learn new things as well. I think one of the things that's most important to any of us is that we continue to learn while we're crafting, because others have a lot to share with us. So there we go, that's my inside cover. And if I would put a photo mat, the photo mat could go in here, just like that. Or if it was thin enough, it could go in there. So we'll get those put in. The other thing that I will be able to do is I'm also going to put some paper going down this side so that it kind of gives some depth to that gusset. So the next page, I had gone ahead and I had also used my border punch, and so on here is where I'm going to do a photo layout on here. But the one thing that I wanted to do is I'm actually going to close this one down with this small flap. And so what this is the piece that I'm putting on here, and actually it was a piece that I cut out directly from the bottom of this collage sheet, and it actually was almost the perfect size for this flap. And actually I cut the flap before I even cut this, so it worked out well. And even on the back of this flap, I can do a pocket, or I can, maybe use some leftover pieces of the pattern paper. So, and I will put the magnet on the back of this flap so that it'll have a good seal on the page. All right. So one thing that I'm going to do is I am going to put a big X. Oh, that doesn't work real well, does it? That's my pen. I'm going to put a big X on the back of that so I remember. And I'm going to put an X on here so that I remember that they need magnets. So this is going to just go in here close to the edge, and I'm not going to miter the edges of this flap because it's going on a straight seam. Now this is where the edge of our paper is, so I want to make sure I back that off about a 1/16 of an inch so that our page still bends and moves easily. Oops. And then that'll come right into here and hold that page down. So, all right. So actually, I'm going to throw those magnets on there right away. How about that? And I like to use the larger magnets. I have them right here. I like to use the larger magnets because I think that they hold better. But, all right, well, make a liar out of me. They were right here. Okay, well, I'm not going to do them then. So this is where I'm going to stop on this first tutorial because it's getting quite long, and I only like to go so long on them. But when we come back, we will get the rest of this finished, the pages here, and we'll get into the next couple of pages, and as we go. It shouldn't be too hard because I'll get most of the papers cut for the pages and designed before I come back. So I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for staying with me. And if you have any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. I do respond to all the comments. And so if you have questions, leave them there as well. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you so much, and have a great night, or happy crafting, happy morning, wherever you are in the States or in Europe. So have a great night. Thank you.